So I'm going to read some poetry and then a little bit of flash fiction, because as some professors would say, I'm a little bit of a genre slut. So I'll be like hopping around a little bit. But the first poem I'm going to read is a cento, and that's a collage poem where each line is taken from a different poet and put together to create a totally new poem. So this one is built from a bunch of different lines from 16 different poets, including Arizona poets Christopher Lane, Jill Devine, and James J. So they all show up in here. So this is called Nightingale Cento. The trees and flowers have been strewing their luminosity of entangled bodies through the woods, a whole nebula. The nightingale that in the branches sang would toss me around with ragdoll passion, speaking sweet and wearing only a very small bird's nest. Some havoc on tender limb, she plunged her tongue to my bare stripped heart, flooding us like blood or syrup, thick with sweet honey from my old failures, drunk with the self that was more than mine. Once I would have said my hallelujah was a lie. The little murmurs of the broken blossoms would have said otherwise. She closes her petals to hold it safe in my chest full of flowers. Overhead, eyeing us, eyeing their nests, my dreams sometimes forget they need to grow feathers before stepping off branches. So that's that one. And you guys are super nice for clapping after my one poem. But to paraphrase Will, you'll be clapping more than I'll be poeming if you keep clapping. So you can hold your applause till the end and I won't feel bad. Okay. Thanks. Okay. So this next one is called How to Exit. Begin by unhooking their names like cat claw from your skin. Listen to the soles of your feet. They know that you are on a bridge made of matchsticks. Do not stand still. Let the friction of each footstep do as it will. Revel in the flames at your back. Give your farewell to those ghosts, like Christmas tree skeletons on the side of the road, strewn with silver tinsel, pine needles as dry and brittle as your goodbye voice. Even you strain to hear it over the sound of demands that drag behind you, like clanging metal cans tied to a cat's tail. The more you walk forward, the louder they rattle. Rethink of it as a string tied around your finger, a reminder of exactly which direction is beckoned by the words, "Come back." Leave what burns you alive. Your own ashes will not give rise to anyone else's phoenix. Okay, thanks. Okay, this is called From the Mouth of the Cave. I let them climb into me. Sometimes they hang suspended from their ropes, limbs dangling like large fleshy spiders from thread. They like to hear their human sounds echoing, spilling down the hollow, and I feel it. I let them come in if they work hard enough. It feels good to be admired for my stalactites and stalagmites, even if they chisel me away to find these. Their iron pickaxes and shovels hurt, yet I whisper, "Come closer." It is through strike of flint that I spark and I break. It's funny how far they come, how deep they dig for open space, how they are lured by the somethingness of pure lack, silence like its own noise, alongside the bat wing, the plinking drop of moisture, darkness like its own color, disrupted by the headlamp, that tunnel of light manufactured. There are creatures dwelling in me that have never seen the sun, places where God said, "Let there be light," and his voice bounced off my walls and I spat it out. I keep the velvet worm, phantom cave snail, eyeless spider, translucent and blind beings. They never leave. We eat each other. Thanks. You guys are so nice. Oh my gosh, okay. Okay, serious poem. This is a sonnet, and it's called Picking Up Broken Glass Without Getting Cut. Unbounded, I am more ocean than earth, attuned to the lunar tug of edges. I spill into your black hole of vast thirst. Gravity beckons me over ledges. Insomniac with black drapes always drawn, just like an eyelid shut over the sun. The bare fluorescent bulb becomes your dawn. You say the demons made you come undone. There's the red glow of alarm clock numbers, plastic pill bottles full of hush and tame. Inhabited by what never slumbers, those shrieking sirens are singing your name. What possesses you? What will cut you free? Undoing your darkness possesses me. This, this is called The Deception of Moths. She is plucking and cutting her wings into a more attractive shape in the bathroom with scissors and bleach, tweezers and pink razor blades. Slice by slice, she is cutting off minutes of her life, emerging with gorgeous lack, earthbound and crawling along the line of allure. She marvels at the lies moths tell, revels in the likeness of their habits, how they make themselves invisible until they want to be discovered. Like the buff-tip moth, who is always in camouflage when sticking to the right backdrop, embodying the color of silver birch tree bark, clinging until even it's unsure of where the body ends and the world starts. Or the death's head hawk moth, who, skull-marked and mimicking the scent of bees, climbs in the hive and in perfect masquerade leaves with a throat full of someone else's honey. Or the Luna moth, who in the cocoon gives up its mouth and gains eye-spotted wings, emerges, eating nothing and hungering only for a mate. Or the white ermine moth, who uses thanatosis, exposing its underside, crumpling into corpse pose. She too plays dead for survival sometimes. Corpse pose, missionary position, named the manner of serpents by certain tongues. And she dreams of oil black snakes writhing upon her abdomen. She lets the buttons come undone. She has finally been found. Her wings are becoming matted down, pressed into her back as he holds her tight. Her wings are twitching like mammalian paws in sleep, a phantom limb dream of flight. So this is a villanelle titled Turkey Vulture. He hovers in the empty sky, black-winged, nostrils keen, carcass mouth and reaper eye. Born to eat disease and purify, tender kidney, heart and spleen, he hovers in the empty sky. Spoil spreads until I let it die. His hooked beak extracts and preens, carcass mouth and reaper eye. In the sun, my bones go dry. What rotten me has he foreseen? He hovers in the empty sky. Does the buzz of my tongue speak like flies? Gravekeeper of the desert, called to clean, carcass mouth and reaper eye. He will eat, and there will be no cry. I feel the stare of the unseen. He hovers in the empty sky, carcass mouth and reaper eye. Thanks. Okay, and this is called Litany of Lovers and Weather. Of course we are storms, passing through the landscapes of one another. How else would that bottle have turned to glass shards, triangular and scattered like shining confetti? How else would those sheets have become soaked through from the salt and water of the sweat of the body or deliverance from black rain clouds? How else would that drywall have borne holes, debris white as knuckle bone? Or consider the creation of crow's feet on flightless faces, and worry lines of furrowed brows, deepening with repetition, etched like washes in the desert. Of course we are storms and landscapes. How else would the blood of others have come down on me in droplets, like the storms that have lifted up, then torn apart frogs and catfish, carried their remains through the air like a funeral procession? How else would old birthday cards have ended up in the trash can? Or like the storm they say poured out periwinkle and hermit crabs, the consciousness of someone else, fragmented, shaken, raining down. The dawn after the storm is past, these memories litter the land, hanging exposed, raw, broken nerves, the snapped branches, the fallen trees, the puddles that gather and cling, the clouds that fade like old bruises, the dark, wet tint of roof tiles and pavement, dampened as if with watercolors. And most of all, the soggy earthworms who emerge, lengthening their pallid bodies, murmuring, yes, we have smelled death, and we've eaten it. You can name us resurrection. And now I'm going to read a couple flash fiction pieces for you. So flash fiction, I was just introduced to it last year, so if you don't know, they're short stories that are usually about 500 words or so. This first one is titled Olive Juice. Hers, It's Valentine's Day, so I can tell that we both feel like we should act like we like each other or something. On the couch, my husband looks into, or perhaps through, my eyes. I stare back into those two pupils, twin black holes. He kisses me, and I kiss back as if I feel something. I pretend I'm an actress in a role. I imagine the director saying, "More sincerity, more tongue." "There's something I need to tell you, sunshine," my husband says. I pretend sunshine doesn't make me cringe. "Olive juice," he says. I pretend to laugh at the old joke. I pretend because I honestly do want to put a smile on his face. His. I say our dumb joke. I don't even know or give a shit how it started. Something about how silently mouthing the words olive juice can appear to be I love you. So somewhere down the line, we just started saying olive juice. I make myself say it now because it makes her laugh. I make myself kiss her, not because I want her, but because I want her to feel wanted. That's got to count for something, right? I mean, when the thing you've made a commitment to is no longer really the thing you made the commitment to, do you stay committed? And how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I paste a smile on my face because it will make her happy. Hers. I don't want to be his sunshine. Being the sun, what a stupid amount of responsibility. The sun isn't allowed to just go away. Everything it shines on would freeze or starve. The sun is expected to rise every morning in the same place to give light and nourishment and provide warmth and make the coffee and clean the husband's midnight snack dishes that always contain a leftover glob of mayonnaise, and you'd think after a while he'd become more realistic about his condiment intake. No, I don't want to be someone's sunshine. I'd rather be someone's Jupiter or Neptune. A pretty thing winking in the distance. Or even Pluto. The uncertainty of my role would at least make for some interesting melodrama. But he's got a smile on his face, and I want to make it stick. I say, olive juice too. Okay. This piece is called The Rehearsal. Todd stared at his tired, bloodshot eyes in the mirror. His tired, bloodshot eyes stared back. He needed to hurry up and get ready for work, but all he could do was think about that commercial with the monotone man discussing dry, red eyes. He knew he couldn't just call in sick today. Today, his boss had given him a responsibility, something that could boost his career. He hated it when people tried to make him reach his potential. In a mere hour, he was scheduled to give a sales presentation to a huge crowd of clients. He'd stayed up most of the night preparing, mainly calculating how much the company would lose if his presentation failed in this way or that way, or that way, or that way. He also practiced excuses in case he drew a blank or the crowd disliked him. A migraine hit me all at once. I was blinded by crippling pain, and right in the middle of my presentation. Such unfortunate timing. But I pushed through. He also practiced ways to get out of doing it altogether. Someone must have left the staff cream cheese out too long. I had one bagel before the presentation, and boom, food poisoning. He even considered saying, I just received news of my sister's car accident. I need to leave immediately, unless you think this work presentation is more important than family, of course. Your call. But he decided not to use that last line. He was too superstitious about saying such ominous things about loved ones. On the other hand, if he himself got clipped by a car on his way to work, perhaps that would be enough to get out of the presentation. Good man, that Todd, they'd say. In the hospital with broken bones, yet still sent an email apologizing for not presenting. That's something. Yeah, he could deal with a broken leg, maybe even a rib or two. Arriving to work in one disappointed piece, he stopped in the staff lounge to eat a bagel with cream cheese in front of someone. Jim, the potential witness, said, Hey Todd, nervous about your presentation? I just feel a little unprepared. Todd took a bite of his bagel. Haven't you been rehearsing? Jim asked. Constantly. And this final one is called The Tangible Reason. Sure, we are both full-grown men, me and my brother. But when your little brother doesn't call you back after you've left at least 2 voicemails regarding dollar beers and tacos, you start to worry, especially if your brother lives alone and has unreasonable allergies that could send him into anaphylactic shock. I call again. No answer. I pace around my living room, involuntarily imagining the worst. Is he all alone, gasping for breath, wondering if anyone gives a shit about him? Has he been dead for days, decomposing in some dark alley or cafeteria that serves peanuts, shellfish, or pineapple? Then I see it. He's left his favorite beige baseball cap on the couch, a tangible reason to go to his house. There's nothing dramatic about returning a hat. I can make sure he's all right without him having to know I'm making sure he's all right. I pick up the hat and get a faint whiff of sweat. Makes sense since he always wears this hat. If I remember right, it actually started out as white. Then it hits me. If he always wears this hat, why isn't he wearing it now? Is it because he's dead? If so, this could be one of the last things that still smells like him. I see a vision of myself suddenly, clinging to the hat, crying at his grave as I whisper, I don't know why I never told you, but I loved you, little brother. I drive to his house. I glance down at the cap on the passenger seat. It just sits there, facing forward, like it's got its own sense of resolve. I park and approach his door. Please, God, who I promise I'll start believing in today, please let him be alive. Let him be safe, healthy, totally fine. I knock. The responding silence speaks for itself. I feel my palms start to sweat against the canvas of his hat. I knock again. Still, no answer. A lump forms in my throat. Sympathy anaphylactic shock? Please, God, don't let him have died alone. The door opens. It's him, standing there and being alive. Hey, he says. Hey, what's up? I clear my throat and I tell him, dude, you forgot your hat. Thank you.